This Rebecca Rance is going to be rating Glee characters. I'm solely rating their characters, not their person. Because, obviously, Puck would be last. We're gonna start off strong. Rachel Berry is the worst Glee character. She is extremely entitled. Do you remember? Okay. Ugh. Online, no one dislikes Rachel Berry. Very, very few people dislike Rachel Berry. But do we not remember her entitlement for all of the solos in Glee? Also, she's the one who threw away all of her opportunities. She deserves. Okay, Kurt deserved to get into Niata, not Rachel. And I'll take that to my grave. Rachel messed up her audition and still got in. Well, she was persistent with Madame Thibodeau. So she messed up her audition. Kurt should have got it. Kurt was amazing. Kurt should have got in. Rachel should not. Rachel was a spoiled brat, and then she went to LA and had a horrible sitcom that didn't even get past the first episode. So no, Rachel Berry is the worst Glee character. She's an entitled brat. Rachel gets a 0 out of 10. Now we're on to Santana Lopez, who is played by the late Naya Rivera. Naya passed away due to drowning. Santana humbled Rachel on many occasions. A lot of people are like, she was so rude for no reason. I just think she called out what it was. Do I think she took it too far sometimes? Yes. Yes, I do. But she humbled Rachel. She humbled people who need to be humbled. Whenever I think she went off on Kurt a few times. He didn't deserve it. Blaine, same thing. Um, I think she also cheated on Danny in like the later seasons. I think she kissed Brittany and cheated on Danny. So that's not great. I'm gonna give her a 6.3 out of 10. Finn Hudson, played by the late Corey Monteith. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He passed away during production due to a drug overdose. Finn, poor guy, he put up with Rachel, right? He put up with Rachel. He also put up with Quinn. Quinn got pregnant, said it was his baby, even though they hadn't even done what needs to be done to have babies, and said that it was his, even though they didn't ever do anything. And then turns out it wasn't his. And he forgave Quinn and Puck, which is another character, for it. I'm gonna give him a 7.5 out of 10. He's honestly getting docked points. I hate Rachel Berry because of how he'd be like, "No one's as talented as you, Rachel." Kurt, Blaine, Quinn, Brittany. I could go on. Puck, played by, I'm not even gonna say his name. Him as a person gets a 0 out of 10. He also has passed away. He passed away either in prison. I don't know. I don't really look into it. Either in prison or at home. He killed himself because he was getting charged with child pornography, having child porn on his computer. So yeah, there might be more to the story. I didn't really look into it too much, but yeah. Puck as a character. Okay, we're gonna take his horrible, horrible actor and just do Puck as a character. Well, Puck cheated on his friend because Puck and Finn were best friends. Puck slept with Finn's girlfriend. He also. Okay, so Quinn and Puck had a baby, right? Well, the baby went to another Glee coach that coached at a different school. He then went and made out with, and more, with the Glee coach that took and adopted his kid. He's gonna get like a 5 out of 10. Because at least he could dance. Quinn Fabray, played by Diana Argan. Quinn, honestly, I have a soft spot for Quinn. I do. Um, I think she's extremely fake because she was like queen of the celibacy club. Not queen. She was president of the celibacy club while she was pregnant with Puck's child that was conceived out of infidelity or cheating, if I used that word wrong. Yeah. She's just a hypocrite. She gets like a 7 out of 10. Like, she's great. She can sing. I think she got cheated out of solos because Rachel. Um, Sue Sylvester, played by Jane Lynch. She's a very iconic character. I think she's a horrible character, though. The stuff she put Glee Club through, the stuff she put um, Kurt and Blaine through, awful. I honestly, the storyline that people like, oh, she's a great person because this. So in the story, her sister has Down syndrome. Her sister passes away, and then she kind of takes another character, Becky Jackson, who also has Down syndrome, under her wing. And then Sue ends up pregnant, and her child also has Down syndrome. So it's like, oh, she brought special needs awareness to the show, and her character takes care of special needs people at the school, and she had the anti-bullying policy. Yeah, it's because she wanted to be the only bully there. So she gets like a five. She gets a 3 out of 10. She is not a good character. Kurt Hummel, played by Chris Colfer. Love him. Love him. He honestly, he's gonna get a 10 out of 10. The amount of stuff he put up with from Rachel, astronomical. Um, I really like Kurt's storyline. I think Kurt had one of the most real storylines in character development out of anyone in the show. Him and Blaine were engaged, and then he broke off the engagement because he's like, Blaine was just always showing up late to things, and so he started losing feelings. And then Kurt was like, I do think he's my person, and then they ended up getting back together. So yeah, I think Kurt's gonna get a 10 out of 10. I love his storylines. Um, they all moved to New York at one point, and he talks about how he feels lost and how Rachel has this show and Blaine has this show and Santana has this and booking commercials, and he just kind of feels like he's just going to Niata and working at the diner, and he finds his own happiness. He ends up playing Peter in a nursing home for retired actors in New York. I don't know if it's a real place, but he ends up playing like Peter in like their play, and he finds fulfillment in that. So I think his character's really real. He gets a 10. Will Schuester, played by Matthew Morrison. Him as a person and also his character is a huge like meme on the internet. Like, you got shooed. Because he planted weed in Finn's locker to get him to join Glee Club. He gets a 5 out of 10. He's a pretty average character. He created very deeply emotional connection to a lot of these Glee kids, and that's not very healthy. I think he's like, what, 30, and he's building connections with who are supposed to be 16-year-olds. Brittany Pierce, played by Heather Morris, great character. She is like kind of played as like the ditz and like dumb blonde, and she like at one point they like, it's a clip in the show. Okay, what's the capital of Ohio where they're at? And she goes, oh, and then the teacher goes, Brittany, do you even know who the president is? And she goes, well, I am. And so it's like she just played the ditzy character. I feel like she's honestly a great character. In the later seasons, I really, really like her. She's gonna get like an 8 out of 10. She's pretty good. She did kiss Santana, knowing that Santana was in a relationship with someone else. Jesse St. James, played by my king, Jonathan Groff. Uh, don't like his character. Love Jonathan Groff. Jonathan Groff also plays King George in the original Hamilton cast. As a character, though, I don't think he's a great character. He threw eggs at Rachel with everyone else, even though he was dating Rachel. He's gonna get like a 6. Blaine Anderson, played by Darren Criss, 9, 8.5. More I like him more than Brittany. Um, Not much of an elaboration. He's also a very real character. Like, he moved schools to go to school with Kurt because they met at a boys' academy, and then they both ended up transferring to McKinley, which is like the public high school. And he had like a very real. Once Kurt graduated, he's like, I moved to this school for Kurt, and now Kurt's not here. What am I without Kurt? And so he goes through that whole like trying to find his own identity. Um, we're gonna just do like like the earlier seasons characters. Mercedes Jones, played by Amber Riley. She gets a 9. I like her about the same. I like her the same as Blaine. She brought good plots to the show. She she was very mad every time she lost a solo to Rachel. She realized how much the favoritism was and how it was unfair. So yeah, she gets a 9. I also enjoyed in the later seasons there was a lot of talk of they live in New York, and so there was like a lot of like sexual talk, and she was like, and in the show she was like, I know who I am, I know who that's not who I am, and I am waiting for marriage. So I like how they brought that plot line in, because in a lot of shows they usually don't talk about that kind of thing of the people who do prefer to wait for marriage, and I think that's great because that show had not had a lot of that. It had talked about like Artie getting another character getting an STD and he didn't know which girl gave it to him. And like a lot like, oh, I could hear you through the walls last night because they all share an apartment. So yeah, there had been like a lot of like pro sex talk, which is great. Also, that representation is great. But then for it was like a breath of fresh air to have like a character who came in and was like, "That's not who I am. I know that's not who I am. So I'm gonna wait." That's great. That's why it's a choice. That's why feminism's great. She had the choice to wait. Sam Evans, played by Cord Overstreet. Sam's a really good character. He had a great plot of like being homeless, supporting his family. He was seen as like the ditz again. So yeah, I'll give him like a 6. He could sing. Artie Abrams, played by Kevin McHale. It is so weird. His character is in a wheelchair. Him in real life, not in a wheelchair. So it's really weird to see him like walking. But yeah, that's. I think he's a really great character. I like how they, you know, really implemented the wheelchair and like didn't have it where he could walk sometimes, not all the time though. So I like how they stuck him in his wheelchair and kept him there because there's not a lot of full wheelchair representation. Artie gets 5.5. Average character, pretty good.